Oh, hey, we are here in our 40 plus dating panel. Now, I was on here a little while ago with the millennials and we were talking about dating and I was shocked at the climate and the atmosphere and the environment of what dating looks like in the 2020s. Oh my goodness, it was so mind-boggling. So, I'm here with people that are a little bit more seasoned and have been in the world, maybe dated, back in the, when they were younger and then got married and then maybe on the other side of what marriage looks like. Now, I want to say this just to be really forthright. For a long time, I had a perception of what single people thought or how single people lived. And I always had the perspective of, baby, this is just their condition in life. They're single, they may have issues, things of that nature. Now, I'd like to first and foremost say, I'm sorry, because I think that that is a very exclusive, or, well, I wouldn't say exclusive, but like isolating, marginalizing perspective of what singlehood is like. Okay. And I think as married people, we can really learn from what it looks like to be single in the 2020s. And from single people, you can learn a lot of stuff too. But I'm not going to tell you what you can learn because I really don't know. So for me, this is me inquiring and talking to real life single people, not necessarily experts, but real life single people with experiences. And I know I want to hear from them. So, welcome everyone to Relationships Matter 2020.
Hello.
How are you? How are you? So,
Good.
I'm so excited to have you guys on here talking about your singlehood experience, what I guess your journey, telling us about who you are and what life looks like for you, and answering some questions and things of that nature. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce to you Pastor R.E. Huff Jr. Pastor, tell us a little bit about you and your experience, your journey, and talk to us about your Facebook page.
Yes, well, good evening. It's a pleasure to be on with you this evening. I'm super excited. Again, Pastor Richard Huff. I am, I don't know, I guess you didn't ask, but I'm 45. So that's a good thing. I feel like I'm a young 45. And I am a veteran, retired from the United States Army, did 20 years. I lived in Colorado Springs for 16 years, born and raised actually in Oklahoma City. Left after graduating high school, lived in Colorado Springs for 16 years. Military took me to Killeen, Texas, and from there back to Oklahoma, but not Oklahoma City, but in the Preston area where I now pastor. Been pastoring for 10 years at the Northside Evangelistic Temple Church, and is just super excited, glad to serve the Lord's people, being single, and trying to make it, I have a Facebook page. I have two Facebook pages. One is the R.E. Huff Ministries Facebook page. Please go in, share, like it. It's some great content on there. I think it'll bless your life.
All right. Thanks, Pastor. Gwen McCollum, without further ado, we're going to invite you to tell us about you and who you are and what you do, and just Gwen.
Hello. I am Gwen McCollum, and I was married right out of high school, had 3 children. And then in my 30s, the marriage fell apart and I became a single mom. My kids at the time were 14, 12, and 7. So that was quite a change for us. I went from being a housewife, homeschool mom, to working full time, raising 3 kids with joint custody with my ex-husband. And I enrolled in school and I graduated from Southern Nazarene University with a degree in family studies. I have now been a single mom for 11 years. My youngest just went off to college. He's a student at ORU this fall. Yeah, and he is Yeah, it's been a journey, but I've enjoyed it. But I've gone through dating as an adult, dating after divorce. I'm an administrator of a Facebook page for Christian women called Dating After Divorce. I've written a book called Daring Adventures of Single Parenthood, a devotional for single parents. And my Facebook page is called My Ramblings, Gwendolyn Irene Ryder. So that's how you can find me.
That is amazing. Gwen, I didn't know you had written a book. Okay, Denisha McCarter. Okay, Denisha and I, yeah, we go way back to earlier this year. And we've done a couple panels together. What I like about Denisha is that she's a conversation starter. Yeah, so she will ask any question and get you fired up. So, Denisha, tell us a little bit about you and how you start these conversations.
I'm definitely a conversationalist at heart, and I learned that about myself in this single season. I just really like to know things about people. I'm a backstory person. So I love to know the ins and outs, the inner workings of things. It helps me get a better understanding of people and my surroundings and what's going on. I'm a kind of backstory person. I don't like surface things. I do like deeper aspects of things. So that's where my conversation starting comes in.
So, tell us a little bit about you, Denisha.
A little bit about me. I am 43. No, 42. I'll be 43 in April. Um, I was married for 17 years. I have 4 children. They're all grown now. And I've been single for the past 4 years. So that was really, really interesting. Similar to Gwen, I was a housewife, staying home with my children. And all of a sudden, I found myself being a single mom, finishing raising 3 teenagers at the time. My oldest was already out of the house. So that was a huge change. And finding myself, I got married when I was 21. So then I was 38 going through this divorce and hadn't dated, hadn't been, I was with someone. So getting out and seeing what dating is and isn't and how it has evolved and changed and how technology has infiltrated into that really, really been interesting. Like I said, my kids are grown, so I have a ton of freedom right now. I don't have anyone else's schedule but mine. So I'm really liking that. And I have a kind of interesting place with my singlehood. I had my children very young, and that wasn't by plan, just kind of happened. So now I'm in my 40s, and all my kids are grown, and I have a lot of friends that are either in their mid to late 30s or 40s, and they have small children, and I'm their age, and all my children are grown. So I'm in this really kind of weird dynamic to where I can kind of go and do my own thing. And then I forget that they have to get sitters and, different things like that. So, finding those aspects of singlehood are pretty interesting. So I am definitely ready to get into this topic today. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for just sharing a tidbit. So, let's dive right in. I've got a question. So, what? All right. So, all of you previously married, correct? Okay. Tell me what the dating atmosphere looks like now versus what it looked like back then. We're gonna, we're gonna start with you, Pastor.
Oh my goodness. Scary. Let's just start there. Uh, um, it's just a different dynamic. I got married really young, also at 19. And interestingly, my mind was not really for marriage. It was more so just dating, girlfriend. I was young. I was in the Army. Great person. But my mindset, I thought I was more mature than I was. And so my mindset just going into marriage was just totally different. And so, having gone through that, growing up faster, being married, growing up fast, rather, had my son. But the way that I did it then and where I look at it now, like I said, it's different. We don't communicate. We don't talk. Now everything is text messaging. So you're trying to do that and you're texting. And to me, I really don't like texting a conversation or trying to text my thoughts because it can get messed up and misconstrued. And so, but that's what's happening now. So it just, I'm gonna use the word scary.
Denise, you want to jump in there and chime in?
It is texting is like a very, very flat form of communication. I too do not like texting because it's very flat. You can't hear voice inflections, you can't hear tone, you can't hear anything like that. So it's a huge barrier for communication. And I'm finding that people have gotten very lazy in how they like to communicate. It's just easier to just send a text. It's just easier to do that instead of wanting to sit and engage and go deeper in things. And that's what I'm finding. Everyone wants to keep things very, very surface. No one wants to kind of get to know who I am, or don't want me to take the time to kind of get to know them. It's kind of like, okay, this is what I want. So if you're not going to give that to me, then I'm moving on. And that's been very, very frustrating for me because I'm like, I have to kind of get to know who I'm talking to or whatever. And it's kind of hard to get to know somebody when they don't even want to talk to you. They don't want to have any kind of live communication. It needs to be texting or just something like that. But it's just phone conversations. Nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore. Nobody wants to do
Wow.
that. And that is so hard to try to get to know someone over this flat digital texting. You can't hear anything or anything like that. It's extremely frustrating.
Gwen?
It's different than when I was a teenager. Like Pastor, I got married at 19. And so, you know, as a teenager, you're going to go out on dates. Dating's the thing. You come into your late 30s and early 40s, and nobody wants to say the word date. You know, let's hang out. Let's have coffee, but they don't want to call it a date. So it's a different world. It's a different, they just want to get to know you. And like Pastor said, and Denisha said, the texting is more difficult. You can't hear a tone through a text. You don't know what they're meaning. And I think the dating in this second half of life is more vague. There's not a whole lot of strict guidelines, and everybody's just kind of going along doing their own thing. And I think it just makes a lot of people very frustrated.
Okay, so you said that texting, and all of you have said this, texting has to some degree taken away the personal aspect of dating, correct?
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, so then, okay, so give me I guess, your best experience of going on a date in this particular climate. Anybody?
So I would say that for me, it was just recently, a couple months ago, met a gentleman at a prayer meeting at church. And he actually said the word, you know, he's like, would you like coffee? Could we go have some coffee together? Sure. I mean, I was shocked because most men don't tend to take that step right away. They want to wait weeks or months and stuff. And he was like, let's go have some coffee. We sat and talked for a couple of hours. And then he said, would you like, we were talking and getting to know each other. And he actually would use the term dating. And that was nice to me because it let me know where I stood. He wasn't just looking for a friend. He wasn't, just looking for someone to, go have coffee with. He actually wanted to date. And that's the first time in 11 years that I've actually had a guy use date so quickly. Most of the time they wait a couple of weeks, a couple of months. You're not really sure where you stand with them and what they're feeling. You're like, well, are we just friends and we just get along and we're going to go hang out and, have something to eat or go for a hike or something. So I think for me, that was a positive. It kind of like reassured me that there are still men out there who will use the term date and not just keep things in this vague zone.
All right, Pastor, I'm gonna hit you with this question because We're in it, right? So why are men so, and I know you can only speak for yourself and maybe the people that you know, why are men so hesitant to say dating, and why is it that they're so vague about where they stand?
Actually, that's a great question because I, it's really hard to say. I know sometimes um, men move slow and they want to make sure that um, she, the female, is thinking the same as he is, that we're on the same level. And so I think when you say dating, that's a word that now we're together. And sometimes men, they just want to date and get to know each other before we are quote unquote together. So I think that word date means now we're together or dating versus now I like what Gwen said now to say, hey, let's go out on a date versus dating. When you say dating now that we're automatically connected, we're together, we're not just friends, we are in a relationship. So I think that word dating and relationship work hand in hand. And sometimes men are afraid of that. They want to kind of move very, very slow when it comes to that.
I'm about to give you another follow-up question. So men move slow. Like I guess when dating younger, men seem to move a little faster, right? So now you come into this phase in life and men move slowly at a later time. Why do you think, why do men, okay, so you've already said you want to get to know, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but women are like, okay, we're later in life. I want to spend more time with this person, getting to know them. So it seems like the process should be a little faster since we're older as opposed to being younger.
I think so. Now, I would agree with you. I think older, we know what we want. We know what we're looking for in most cases, hopefully. And so, yes, that can go a lot faster. I think um, knowing again, if that woman that you've gone out on a date with, that you have interest in, if she is hitting all those things that you're looking for, I don't think there's any reason to delay. Hey, let's date, let's get to know each other, and let's move this thing along. Absolutely. I don't think it takes 4 and 5 years to get to know someone. We know within the first, couple of months, if this is someone of importance to us and someone that we can see ourselves with. So I would definitely say that older on this side, we would move quicker. We should move quicker because by now, we should know what we're looking for. I mean, my goodness, if we don't know by now, then we just might as well throw in the towel because we'll never know. You can use that as a safety net at 19 and 20, but at 40 plus, you should know because you've lived, you've seen, and by now you should know what it is that you're looking for, what would enhance your life. And what you have to offer to someone else. I'm kind of the old school. We was talking the first initial question was, what does dating look like? I'm kind of old school. I still open up the door in the car. I open the car door. I shut it. I open the door to the restaurant. But a lot of times I remember there was someone, she was younger that I had heard, and she didn't even want that. I said, wow, so you mean to tell me now ladies don't want the door open for them? They don't want the chair pulled out for them? It was interesting. I'd heard someone say that. And so I know I'm not the one asking questions, but I wonder, do women still want that? The man to open the door, the man to open the car door, the restaurant door, pull the seat out. That's what I like to do because I think it's showing the woman respect.
So, ladies, just go ahead, jump in, tell them. We'll come back to the question, but do women still want that? Denise, you want to start?
I definitely still want that. Interesting experience to talk about that. I had went out on a date. I had just been very newly divorced, and for me, it was utilitarian in nature for me to go out on this date, just for me to try to get my feet wet or whatever. So we had went out and we were kind of going in and out of places and just different things kind of running around. And he stopped and looked at me because I was just opening the door to whatever store or restaurant we were going in. And I was just going on in. And I noticed he hesitated, and I'm like, got the door open and walking in, and he said, "You're just not going to let me open the door for me, are you?" And I was like, I said, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Like, I have been single so long. I'm just doing everything myself. I just wasn't used to it." And I can also say to that I was married for 17 years and wasn't used to someone opening the door for me.
Mm.
So I can say that. And it hit me all at once. Like, you're out on a date and this dude wants to open the door for you and he can't even do it because you're beating him to it.
Wow.
And so it really made me think that I probably have not even been treated like a lady really needs to be treated, because I was with someone who did not have the mindset or the wherewithal to even know how to treat me, like that. So I definitely want that so much. I'm just finding it difficult to find men that have been raised and still trained that way, because everything is so different. And it kind of seems like when they do approach women, they're looking for what they can get, and it's not a servanthood attitude at all. It's, what can I get out of this situation? If I can't get it, I'm moving on. It's not looking to open a door for someone or to be in that kind of servanthood, even in a dating aspect, just going out and, like Pastor said, showing respect. They're not even doing that. But it was interesting for me. This guy had to literally ask me to allow him to continue to open the door for me for the duration of that date. It was so interesting.
Wow. Gwen?
Yeah, I like to have the door open for me. I like to be treated like a lady.
Yeah.
But I have been single a long time. So, like Denisha, I have that tendency to just reach for the door. And I've had to learn to step back. And it was actually my children. I have 3 boys. I've raised them to open the doors for ladies. And the first question they have always asked when I have started dating is, "Does he open the door for you?" I mean, because that is important to them. I have raised them to treat ladies like that, and they want to make sure I'm treated like that. So I have to make sure that I am allowing men to open the door for me like I have taught my kids to do. But it is kind of difficult sometimes when you're just walking and you're not thinking and you reach for it. But I have learned, I step back and see what they're going to do, if they're going to reach for the door or not. Give them those few seconds to see what will happen. But it's nice to be treated like a lady, nice to be treated like, you are important enough in this moment for me to think of you and open the door.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
So does that answer your question, Pastor?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a question that it kind of sparked a little bit just as we were talking about this. I know women have a transition to singlehood, like coming out of a long-term relationship, jumping into, now I'm not married, but not carrying myself like a married person. Right. And transitioning into, I'm single, I'm available. I know that that's probably those are mind gymnastics. Gwen, can you speak to that a little bit for me?
Yeah, when you come into, you come from a married relationship and you come into being single, it's a different mindset. And if you've got children, you're still in that caring mode. You have people, littles, who are dependent on you. And so it's sometimes hard to make that transition, that I can go out on a date and have fun and let down my guard and allow myself to be treated like a lady, and not think of myself as mom in that moment. For those 2 hours that we're at dinner, I'm not mom at that moment. I'm actually on a date with a man having a conversation. But it is the mind gymnastics, because you, as a single mom, you have to make sure before you go out the kids are taken care of. Is it dad's weekend, and so you're planning a date while they're gone so they won't know you're dating, and you don't have to answer all the 100 questions when when you walk in the door that night. And so it is this mind gymnastics and this constant, I'm independent, I'm raising children, I'm going to school, I'm working, I'm paying my bills, but I still want to be treated like I'm special and I'm important and I'm a lady for those few hours that we're
Yeah.
out. And sometimes it does take that transition. For me, I have found that it's easier for me to take some breaths between hats. So
Okay.
I allow myself to take off the mom hat, the employee hat, the house cleaner hat, whatever hat's on, and allow myself to put on, okay, I'm going on a date. So I can let go of some of those things, change my mindset so that by the time I meet the guy at the restaurant or at the coffee house, I'm ready. I'm ready, and I've moved my mindset, and I'm in a position that now I can enjoy, the conversation and the time together.
Denisha?
That is such an interesting question and perspective. Um, just like Gwen said, when you're coming out of something that you've been in for so long, and then all of a sudden you're single, you're like, oh my goodness, it's kind of like, what do I do with myself? Because we know what to do as moms, we know what to do as wives. We don't know what to do as a single mom, at this point. Um, what was interesting for me is I didn't have little kids. They were really big teenagers. So I had the freedom to go out. I wasn't really being approached or whatever. I was about a year and a half divorced and still single. And I had a conversation with a friend and I said, men will see me, but they don't really say anything or whatever. And she said, how are you carrying yourself? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, are you smiling? Do you appear friendly or whatever? And I said, well, I'm just kind of moving through my day or, whatever. And she said, Denisha, you are probably still carrying yourself as a married woman and you're not. And when the instant she said that to me, I had not made that transition. I was married. I only had eyes for my husband at the time. That's just how that was. I didn't make eye contact with men. I didn't really, do anything like that. And as a single, that first year and a half, I still did the same thing, kind of walking through life, doing my own thing and not really making eye contact, not looking available, not looking like I was approachable. And she had that conversation with me and it was very eye opening. So I didn't realize that there was some work that I needed to do to show that I was approachable to men. And so I had to make sure that I, looked friendly, or if I made eye contact with someone, to smile and different things like that. So it is a lot of mind gymnastics, like you said. That's a very, very good term for that, because we have to kind of bend and fold and mold into this new season that we're in, and do it properly as Christian women, especially. So we have to kind of make sure that we're on the up and up with that. But yeah, that was totally my experience.
Yeah. So, Pastor Huff, because I don't know what it's like to be a guy. Thank God. At this phase, I'm very pleased with my condition in life. Just saying. Sorry, I went there. I did.
You did.
I just don't know. So. Is there a transition for you as a man? Was there a transition for you as a man to say, okay, now no longer married, I am single? Like, what did that look like for you? And then I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, definitely. I think that mind gymnastics, excuse me, as has been said, is a very, very good term. I think just the thought process of, I was married young, really didn't live that young life as a single person. So it was kind of like that exhale, like, wow, what now? Am I ready? And I think for a very long time, I just kind of wanted to be to myself, really, not do a whole lot of moving around. Just so I didn't, and even I don't do a lot of stuff, So I think it may have been because of that. I just kind of wanted to be to myself, just kind of chill, just kind of chill and see what it's like to just get to know me, And so I think, you do have to change your mindset. Okay, I'm not married. I am single now. What does that look like? And again, when am I ready? I think the time frame is different for everyone. Some people, they right out the gate, boom, they're gone. And others may take a little longer, just kind of detox from where you were.
Hmm. Detox from where you were. Wow.
Mm.
That's
That's good.
intense. I need to do a follow-up question with that. But I have another follow-up question. So they've addressed both of these ladies here have addressed that um, that transition from being married to single. Is that something that men can kind of pick up on when they're looking, they may be attracted to someone, you may be attracted to someone, but the person doesn't have a ring. So you've already checked the ring finger out. You may have even asked a friend. Can a man tell just by looking at an individual if she's ready to date or not?
Wow. Whew.
I know it's a lot. It's the weight of
It's-
manhood, like all on you.
And I'm bearing it by myself here. I think body language is key. I think
good.
the body language of the woman is key. And you can, and as a guy, I think you take your cue off of body language. Like Denisha said, eye contact. How are they carrying themselves? And I think based on that, I'm a very visual person, as I'm sure a lot of men are. So, and I try to communicate not just verbally, but with body language, eye contact. So thus I'm looking at that. And so I think, how she's carrying herself, how engaged is she with the conversation? Is she open? I think all of those things will kind of let the man know, okay, they're ready to start dating. I think engagement is key.
Absolutely.
That is great.
Yeah.
That I feel like that's an answer. Like,
Yeah.
this is an answer for so many women. Engagement is key. So let me ask you this. And ladies, once he's answered, I just want you to chime in, just jump in there. You're looking at a relationship. You mentioned detoxing, and women detox too. Because I mean, most of the time when you're ending in a divorce, unless it's like irreconcilable differences, generally it's not amicable. Like it's generally something tragic has occurred, and we're trying to catch ourselves, right? So there is that period of detox. So what would you suggest to a female that's been in a horrible relationship? She's ready to start dating, but not quite sure on how to let a guy know that she's ready.
She's ready, but how does she really kind of let the guy know that she's ready?
Yeah, let him know she's ready. She's ready to get past, just all of that trauma and just to move forward.
Now, honestly, I think just flat out tell him, this is where I'm at. I have moved on, and here's where I'm at, and just communicating it. I think just upfront communicating it now, as Denisha said, it's not just surface, it's all on the table. Here I am. Let's give this thing a shot.
That's good. Ladies, you want to jump in there?
I don't think you can dance around it. I mean, it's just like, boom, let's here I am.
Yeah. Is it a bad expectation for women to feel like men should initiate that conversation?
Is that for me?
Yeah,
Is that
it's
for
for
the lady?
you. It's for you.
The second half is gonna be better. Ask the question again. What was the question?
Is it wrong for a woman to feel like a man should initiate that conversation by just like putting it out? You're saying she should put it on the table. Is it bad for her to want the man to initiate the conversation?
I don't think it's bad, but if you all have talked any length of time, if you all know each other any length of time and it's getting any kind of way serious, I think if he hasn't done it, I don't think it's a problem for her to bring it up. You know, like we've gone on several dates, if we've talked regularly for a little while, but not the official relationship or the official dating, and she knows within herself, I'm ready for this, and she know he's ready. I don't think it's a problem for her to bring it. If he hasn't said it yet, I think she should.
Okay. All right, ladies, now jump in there with either one of those questions.
Well, I tend to agree with Pastor because I don't want to waste time. I just don't have time to waste on stuff. I just feel like we're adults, and if we're communicating, and if I'm being honest with you, I would really expect for that person to be honest with me also. And I would say too, for a woman to know that she's ready to date, I think that she really needs to know herself first. And whatever trauma or whatever she needs to detox from, she needs to make sure that she has taken care of that and taken care of herself in the process so that she really can be fully honest with the person, letting them know that she is truly ready to date. And I also wish people would just, if you know you really ain't ready, and you just really like the person, I just wish you would just say that, like, you are so cute, I really like you, but just some things about dating kind of scare me, and just have that conversation. And if you just end up with a great friend and you're not dating the person, then you both went forward on a truthful foundation, because you can go anywhere with the truth as a foundation, but you can't go nowhere when you start off something with half truths and fear and different things because you were afraid to communicate. That's what I don't like. And I would much rather put everything out on the table, fears and all, and just to let you know here that this is what it is. What are we gonna do, to move forward? Are you okay with this? If you're not, let's just hash this out. That's where I am with that.
Gwen?
I think it's very important to be honest. If someone asks you out and you are not interested or you're just not ready, then you need to tell them that.
Absolutely.
If you have and you start dating and you've gone on a few dates and you've hit this point where I think it's fine to open the conversation and say, where is this going? Where do you see it going? And I talk from experience. I dated a guy who I didn't have that conversation. I was afraid to have the conversation. I hadn't been divorced for very long. And I was afraid to to find out where the relationship was going. Where did he see it going? What was his plans? And so when things came to an end, I was heartbroken because I thought there was more to this relationship. But a friend of mine, he was talking to me and he goes, well, did you guys ever have a conversation about where the relationship was going? And I'm like, no. And he's like, why not? And I said, I think I was afraid. And he goes, you can't do that. And so, since that time, I've tried to always be honest. If we've gone out on a couple of dates, we're still going out, he's still asking me out. I think it is fine after 3 or 4 or 5 dates to say, where is this relationship going? Are you ready to date? Am I ready to date? And have that honest conversation so that you don't get hurt in the end. Communication can stop a lot of the hurt that happens in dating relationships.
Yes.
That's good. That's really good. So let's go back to the good experience. Pastor, I think it's on you. I'm gonna stop picking on you in a minute here, but tell me about a good experience that you've had with dating.
I think tell you about a good experience. I think it was a good evening of dinner, hanging out, talking, communicating, just enjoying one another. Again, the scope and the field of dating now is a lot different than it was some years ago. Because a lot of times, if not careful, if you're not, with someone maybe a little bit older, you may be on a date and they're texting, which is not the purpose of this date. The purpose of this date is for us to have contact, eye contact, body language. And so in that, it was great body language, good dinner, good conversation, just a wonderful time of hanging out, two adults hanging out. Excuse me. And I'm using that word hanging out rather than date. But it was a date, you know, and it was just really fun. And so I think at the end, it was a cool breeze that swept over me, which I thought was really nice versus, you know, some that could be absolutely horrible, but it was wonderful.
Denisha, did you give me your good experience in dating?
What good experience I had, it was this year because I have not had a very extensive dating history since I've been single. I just haven't. I'm just working on myself and just I finished raising my children. That was my focus. So this year, I had met a guy on social media, and it was pretty interesting. Our first date was actually Mother's Day of this year. I met him at one of my favorite taco place here in town, and we just had a great first date. And then we ended up having three more dates after that that were really good, really fun. Just like the pastor said, just getting to hang out with another adult, having a good time, going places, having dinner, having lunch, different things like that. It was a really, really nice experience. Um, the experience ended because the long and short of it, he was not as Christian as I thought he was. So we're just going to leave it right there. And that's where I left it. So, and it was sad to me because that was my first like real dating experience in 4 years of being single. And they were just really, really fun dates. And so I've taken that away from it. I'm the type of person, I never feel like I lose. I feel like I need to learn from whatever situation I'm in. If I learn from it, I'm going to get better. So I just learned that, you'll have different experiences as a single. You'll have these really great dates. Sometimes it doesn't work out. It doesn't, go the way that you want it to go. But yeah, that's what happened. But I had 4 great dates with this person. But
That's
I
wonderful.
just knew that in the end, I just knew that it wasn't going to work out.
So I heard from the millennials that people date based on social media status, like how many likes they're going to get on social media.
What?
What?
Legit.
What?
I've never heard them like that all my life. Wow.
Boy, no wonder.
No
Oh
joke.
my gosh.
Wow.
I'm saying
No.
these games where they do like like face matching and what your kid's gonna look like.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah. I thought I would introduce that concept. So, do you find that that's kind of the standard now? I mean, have you don't look at me like that. This is the truth. Like, making it up. Not making it up.
I can't even answer that.
Right.
What are they doing?
That makes no sense to me.
Oh my gosh.
Look, there's no disrespect. I mean, to each its
No
own, right?
No, right.
But as for me,
So when you speak of the superficiality portion of what dating looks like, do you find that that's what you get on social media, or say like one of these dating websites? Plenty of Fish is probably not the place to go, but Match.com, all these other platforms that say that they can, match you with the person of your dreams. Do you find that there's a lot of superficialness there because there's so many people that they can choose from?
I think
Anybody
it's
tried
superficial.
online? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's superficial because you can put whatever you want and say whatever you want. You can fix the pictures to look good. And I've tiptoed into social media dating and in online dating, and it just wasn't for me because I found that their profiles weren't who they were. Like once you start to get to talk to them, wasn't who they were, and I didn't care for that at all. And so I I personally don't do the online dating because of that. But I think in the social media world, you can make your profile, your page look however you want it. And it's not the real you. We all hide the bad stuff. I mean, what do? We go through our pictures and we don't post the ones that look bad. We post the good ones. And so I think that depending on a social media page or profile is setting your own self up for disappointment.
That's really good. Pastor, Denisha, either one of you.
Heaven. Oh, go ahead.
I find that going on dating sites, it's not organic enough for me, because I mean they're just, you're scrolling through and you're just seeing people and all that. I find that when they do approach me on the dating sites and say whatever they're going to say, I'm reading it and I'm like, you do not talk like this in real life. Like, if I just met you on the street, you do not talk like this.
And don't call me baby.
Yes, right off the bat, girl.
Right off the bat.
Off the bat.
Hey, baby. Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, no. First of all, we're not gonna do that. Just pet names right off the bat. They just want a baby, honey, sugar, sweetie, all that right off the bat. No. Does not work with me. Don't like that. Complete turn off. Or either they'll get in there talking about, how are you doing today, my wonderful, beautiful queen? You just look
my gosh, yeah.
blessed and highly favored of the Lord. Who talks like that? No one talks like that. And it's like Gwen said, you don't know who you're getting. And I would much rather bump into you on the street at a quick trip somewhere and you be like, hey girl, what's up? You know, that'll be more authentic to me than you calling me queen at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, no, just I find it's just they're not who they say they are, and that's what you kind of find out. Which the dude that I went on the 4 dates with, he was not who he said he was, and when I found out, I was like, "Have a good life. I'm out."
Yeah,
exactly what I found out.
Pastor, you're gonna jump in and say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I haven't really delved into the whole internet stuff. Dating sites, so I really can't speak to that. But it is true. I think it is a lot of superficiality with people, and unfortunately, I think, as outlandish as your statement was, what millennials think, no bash on them at all. I think that's where we are that's where we have come to, what's my life's going to be, what's my love's going to be based on this and that. I agree. I think, as Denisha was saying, just be real, let's be real. Don't the first time we talk is baby, honey, all these names. Yeah, let's just be real. Hello, how are you? Good morning. Just let's use normal words.
Yes. Exactly.
Very true.
Okay. So, Pastor, let me ask you this. I know I'm picking on you, but you're the only guy on here, and I have a lot of questions because, like I said, I don't have the mindset. If I could have the mindset, then I would just like carry it around with me. I wouldn't want it, but I would just carry it around with me to ask questions all the time. Let me ask you, when is it a good time for a woman to ask like really deep questions on a date?
Wow.
That's a good one.
That's a really good question. When is it a good time? I think I go back to, what's the vibration of both of you? What's the tone? What kind of vibe are you all putting off? Do you all really like each other? Is this something that is that you can see going further? And if both persons are thinking that, I think, if it's the 3rd date or if it's the 10th date, wherever that point is. And sometimes I think you just know. I think, I go on feelings a lot. And I think you just know. So I think if there's a good back and forth between the two, and if it's that time, and you know, in many cases, it may be the guy that's the one that's going to initiate the deep, hard questions too.
Yeah. I find
Oh,
that sometimes women don't know what men are thinking. So when you say vibrations, can you expound on what that looks like?
you know, I did use the word vibe. I guess vibe, I could have said too.
Okay.
The vibe, what vibe are we putting off with each other?
Okay.
How's this thing really
Just
going? Is it
curious.
cool? You know, but like, you know, again, like Denisha said, it took 4 dates for her to see, okay, whoa, this is not it. So the deeper questions never had opportunity to really come out.
Okay.
So I think it's just between the two, you know, when is it, you know, have we, I don't think we can put like, okay, after the 5th date, then I'm going to ask. After the 3rd date, I'm going to ask. I think it's more so, where are we at? Because sometimes it could be the 1st date. It just really depends because, you know, quiet as it's kept, there are still some that fall in love on the 1st date and not many days after they get married. Now, it may not be any of us on here, but somebody might do that. So I think it just really depends on where you all are at. You know, it could be out, it could be that 5th date for Denisha, it could be that 3rd one for Gwen, you know, it could be the 10th for me, you know, it just really depends, I think.
You want to chime in?
I would say what I tell the ladies in my Facebook group and what I follow myself is I tell them to follow that peace. There's a peace inside. If you're anxious when you're with someone, you may need to step back and evaluate why you're anxious when you see them, you know. But if you've got a peace and things seem to be rolling on, you can say, hey, are we ready to have these conversations? And if they're like, no, not yet, then okay, you know, I feel like I'm ready when you are. Let's give it a couple more dates. But I really feel like if we can acknowledge the fact that we can know some of the steps to take inside. Like Pastor said, is it the 1st date, the 3rd date, the 5th date? I think that's that insight that's going to lead you and guide you. And you have to follow that peace inside. And if you don't have that, then it's time to step back and evaluate why you don't have that. It might be you. Maybe you're not ready for that yet. Maybe there's some hurt in your past you haven't dealt with. Maybe there's something that you feel just is off with them and you just need to evaluate that. But I do feel strongly that you just follow that peace of God on the inside in your dating life.
Denisha, after your comment, we're going to have to close on out because we've had such a great time. We've run out of time.
Well, I would just quickly piggyback off what Gwen said about following that piece. And I think following that piece will save you a lot of time, a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache. But for women in general, because we are really motivated by our feelings a lot, I think sometimes we can have that little scratching on the inside that there's something not quite right about this, but we are lonely and we have been alone for a while and we haven't been on a date in a little bit and things seem like they're going really well. And we are afraid to let go of what could be in this situation when that piece on the inside is telling us, this ain't good for you. You know, that little scratching, this ain't good for you. And there's so many women that have overrode that on the inside and just been like, well, he said he's going to do this and well, it's looking like it's going to turn out this way. And when we override that piece and that inner witness, and God is telling us, you need to let this go, and then we don't, we can end up in some really detrimental situations. So it can go either way. You can have that piece as a green light, and you can have that on the inside, that kind of scratching like, oh, you need to back out of this. You need to let this go. And I think that we need to make sure that we appropriate the warnings and appropriate the peace in a way that we know God is with us and he's leading us in a correct way.
I love that. Thank you all so much. It has been a pleasure to have you with us. We're going to come back next time and we're going to talk more about dating over 40. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.